This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Do you take this woman as your lawful wedded wife?
Ooh, yeah! Oh,
Place the ring on her finger and repeat after me. With this ring,
no. With this ring,
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
Hello and welcome to With This Ring, episode 31. I'm your co-host Ryan Everett.
I'm your co-host Cindy Everett.
And tonight we are going to be continuing our look at the GWWE Greatest Wrestler Ever poll. And it starts, we're going with the man right at the top of my list, number 2 originally, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And now he's number 1 on your list?
Maybe.
Potentially, okay.
Yeah, we'll see. See how it goes by the
so.
end of the night.
I think he's always going to be the second behind Randy Poffo for you.
So, as we discussed Steve Austin in our WCW portion of the list, we
did
looked at his whole WCW career.
So we watched 1991 to 2022 as the span of Steve Austin matches that we watched.
Yep, and that covers most of his career.
Yeah.
So for a few years in early Dallas beforehand, but pretty much the whole length of it.
Yep, but here we started specifically with his WWE career.
Right.
So we started with 1996.
Yes, so we started, because it actually came in as the Ringmaster.
That was his name?
Yeah. It was like the Ringmaster of Steve Austin, but like tried to stress...
Like a circus person?
No, like he's a master of the ring. Like he's so good technically is what they were trying to do.
You don't want to be Stunning Steve. You don't want like an offshoot of this Stunning Steve.
Well, he couldn't really be Stunning Steve because...
He could have been like Sensational Steve. They
could
have found like another... You know what I mean?
Well, by this time also though his hair was down to a crew cut and stuff, so that character really wouldn't have...
Can't really play up in a blonde.
Play like a vain blonde person when
we don't have
you have at the most a crew cut of hair. So he goes with Ted DiBiase for a little bit, and after like 2 months there, he's changed to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Why did he move from WCW to WWE?
He was injured, and WCW fired him.
Oh, that was stupid.
Because he wasn't going to make... They couldn't market him as a guy who just wrestles in black tights and make money off of that.
That's true. WCW didn't make a lot of good decisions.
They had some poor choices, yeah.
Anyways.
But then eventually he loses Ted DiBiase as a manager because they gave him a manager because they thought he couldn't cut an interview.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah.
Well, it kind of shows to stick with what you love because he debuted, 5 years before this and took him that long? Took like...
Yeah, in WC... Yeah.
He wasn't like Dwayne The Rock Johnson where they you're an idiot, go be your own character right away. Like, he really persisted.
Yes, he had to keep fighting, and eventually, going into King of the Ring 1996, it was always pegged that it was going to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley's event to win and have him be the King of the Ring. But then the curtain call incident happened in May of 1996, where it was Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H were all friends backstage, and Shawn Michaels beat Diesel, and it was Diesel's last night. So they all hugged in the ring. And all the old-timers were upset about this because they're breaking kayfabe, having heels and faces celebrate. So Nash and Hall are gone, though. They're in WCW.
Right.
Shawn Michaels is the world champ, so they can't really do anything to him. So they're going to punish Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and he doesn't get to win King of the Ring. They instead have Steve Austin win it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, Triple H kind of made good with the corporate brand.
He was able to figure it out eventually.
Yeah. Okay. So this was what he was against Marc Mero, who I don't know anything about.
Basically, his biggest claim to fame is Sable's first husband.
All right.
He was. We watched a couple Johnny B. Bad matches.
Oh, that's him. That's right. Yeah. That's right. I think we had this conversation when we watched the match. I was like, that guy looks familiar.
Yeah. And at this point, he was kind of just wrestling as Johnny B. Bad, but vaguely jungle themed.
That's right.
This is kind of what his character was. It was like leather, I guess.
Dad likes leather. Gotcha. I wrote down I said his entrance music was different and bad.
Yeah, it was very methodical. And
I don't even remember what it was, but I'm sure it wasn't good.
Yeah, it was rather boring.
Said, yeah, slower, very, like, physical, but a grappling. Oh, yeah, when did he shave his head?
Like early 96.
Okay.
Like his very first 2 or 3 matches in the WWF, he has like a crew cut.
Yeah.
But then he gets rid of that.
Seems like it was probably inevitable anyways, so.
Yeah, and that's like one of the... Because he wanted to be... He didn't like the ringmaster. He thought it was a stupid gimmick. And he kind of was watching... He saw a documentary about a serial killer who was like ice cold.
Gotcha.
They called him the Iceman. So then the story is like, oh, he came up with all these names that were horrible from WWE, like Ace McFreeze and stuff. And his wife told him, drink your tea before it goes stone cold.
Oh.
And that was, ta-da.
Light bulb moment.
Yes.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's good.
It stuck, yeah. It was a lot better than
Ace McFreeze. And McFreeze is never going to be...
Yeah.
It sounds like a McDonald's drink. Your dessert's not going to be a winning name. But yeah, I think he was always a really good wrestler. I think people always recognize that. I thought even in WCW he was a good character.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird how they didn't really give him as kind of a slower burn. Well, not really. I guess it was a year before he became like enormous.
Yeah. I mean, he shoots up pretty quickly in WWF. But so he beats Marc Mero, but in the match he gets kicked and it needs to get like 20 stitches in his lip.
Oh, really?
Which was legit.
Yeah, they like to kick. They were both like kicking.
Yeah. So he got one kick right in the mouth, and as he's walking out, you could see him like,
oh yeah,
pose like smiling, kind of to show the blood.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he comes back to face old Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's right. I didn't write a lot. It was a quick match. I think Jake the Snake was old at this point.
Yes,
right?
that was like his gimmick. Old and now he's Christian.
Oh,
was his thing.
In 1996, he was Christian now.
No, back in 1996.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like, when did Shawn Michaels do his Christian?
2002, mainly.
Oh, okay. A little bit after. Gotcha. Yeah, I just said that Steve Austin goes after his ribs. It's a very one-sided match.
Yeah.
Why did they have that match?
It was for the King of the Ring finals, so they needed to... You couldn't determine the King of the Ring after the King of the Ring pay-per-view. That would just be silly.
Of course.
So they have... And the Gorilla Monsoon, the president, tries to stop it, but Jake the Snake doesn't want him to, so then Austin just beats him.
That's right.
Cleanly in the middle of the ring. And then the most important part of the night, and one of the most important interviews of all time, Austin goes over to the corner. And before, all the Kings had like worn the goofy crown and cape, and he didn't want anything like that.
Right.
He just started talking about how Jake the Snake was old and washed up, and how all he talks about is John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, "I just whooped your ass."
That makes sense. The whole Christian comment. Now.
Right? Yeah. So that helped, and then
he just came up with that like on the fly.
Yeah. Someone told him like, "Oh, Jake was cutting a big Christian promo before the match."
Was he?
Yeah. Like he always at this time that was his thing.
Gotcha. Austin 3:16. That's good.
Yep.
It stuck.
It worked. As 26 years later, he was wearing the same shirt still in front of 80,000 people. So
yeah,
and I think it worked.
I think he sold about 80 million of them. So.
Yeah, I think he's doing all right with that. It was a good saying. And then next, we watched for the second time, we watched WrestleMania 13.
Wait, did we talk about the other promos we watched?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I only have the matches on the spreadsheet, not the... So...
Sorry.
We went
to Brian Pillman's house in Cincinnati.
So, well, before that, though, there was an interview on Superstars.
Who was dissing Bret Hart. That was pretty good.
Where, yes, Steve Austin is dissing Bret Hart, and Brian Pillman, though, keeps speaking up Bret Hart and how great he is. So Steve Austin attacks Brian Pillman and... does a move where you take a chair and wrap it around a guy's ankle and jump on it, which to this day is known as Pillmanizing an ankle.
Oh, yikes. Yep. Well, good to be known for something, I guess.
And then the next week, Steve Austin decides to go to Brian Pillman's house in suburban Cincinnati.
Obviously.
And he arrives and
because Brian Pillman's from Cincinnati. And he used to play for the Bengals.
Yes, in case you didn't know.
Because one thing I remember from all these years of us podcasting is going to be that.
Brian Pillman played for the Bengals.
Yes.
Is from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And so Steve Austin shows up and beats up two of Brian Pillman's fat friends who just happen to be there.
Right. Not local jobbers. Yeah.
No, not at all. Beats him up with all the kids' toys,
right.
including a wagon and a pool that has got to be filled with like disgusting 40-degree leaf dirt rain.
Water. Yeah.
So I'm hoping both of those guys earn their money that night.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Steve Austin tries breaking into the house, and Brian Pillman shows his gun.
That's right.
And we're told there were explosions.
Very normal.
There were explosions, but Steve Austin saw the gun and he ran away. And then at the end, Austin breaks in again, and Brian Pillman gets up again with the gun, and everyone's trying to separate him. Brian Pillman says, "Let him fucking go."
That's
and
right.
Raw had to cut off pretty quickly then.
Yeah. It kind of seems like Steve would do whatever, like, for his promos. Like, he was pretty open to, like, well, we just watched 10 clips of him driving Zambonis and cement trucks and beer trucks. But I guess mainly driving different vehicles.
Right.
And breaking into people's houses.
Yeah, he would do whatever was necessary.
There was never any, like, weird, like, pirate amnesia story in Cleveland?
No, not really. His storylines were always somewhat above line.
Yeah. They're very, like, straightforward. I think McFoy maybe got a little too complex with whatever he was
Sometimes, yeah.
Where
but even, like, Steve Austin wrestled for, like, the better part of 2 years an undead zombie.
Did he?
I mean, The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah. That's
so,
true.
Even those were... There's the time The Undertaker tries to, like, embalm him alive and stuff, but for the most part, even those kind of stayed on the surface.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, the Undertaker's supposed to be a zombie?
Kind of.
Oh, I just thought he was like an Undertaker.
I mean, an Undertaker doesn't feel pain, though. I mean, he's died like 4 times.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Are we going to do him for one of our months?
I don't know. Because he's kind of hard to... Like, yeah, you'll see 5 great matches and talk about how good he is, but then there's also, like, 10 horrible matches that...
Not very consistent.
Like, he's very hit or miss.
Okay. We just watched all his wacky Buried Alive or embalming matches.
There are more than one, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, you're starting to talk about
an
I Quit match.
At WrestleMania 13, between Bret Hart and Steve Austin.
Oh, this is the one with Kent Shamrock in his
Yes, Kent Shamrock in his little referee outfit.
It's very little.
Yes. It's almost as small as Vince McMahon's. But a little larger.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, and we watched this before because this is the gross match.
Right, yes.
Everyone loves it. It's very iconic. I think it's very bloody.
Yes,
well, that's true
both
too.
Both are true.
Both are true.
Yes, it is definitely very bloody as well.
I guess if I watched this in 1997, I'd probably feel differently about it. But how did you feel when you were watching this the first time? That
it was awesome because there was blood and there usually wasn't blood.
Oh, really?
This time. Yeah.
Oh.
Like, blood was kind of a big no-no from the early 90s to, like, here. Yeah.
So what changed? Why?
Well, they were kind of, for one thing, early 90s, they were still really pushing more just kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there was kind of like confusion about AIDS and how it could spread and stuff like that. So they didn't really do blood too much in the early 90s.
Well,
WWF especially.
AIDS and they both had open wounds. They could get,
right.
If one of them had AIDS and they both had open wounds, then they could spread AIDS.
True, yes.
Did they test for that?
Eventually they did, yeah. But, I mean, at this time, though, it was like,
right,
you know.
People didn't know what was going on.
Right, so but around here is when, well, the ECW started doing more blood. So then it started, like, leaking into WWF. And then, like, this was the start of, through 97 and 98, it's like a lot of blood.
Oh, yeah, we can attest to that. So, I mean, I guess we've already said.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best matches in WWF history, if not just for the, like, the actual match, the moves and stuff in it, then also, like, the story of Bret Hart being like paranoid that no one likes him.
Oh, that's right.
And then turning on the crowd after he wins.
Mm-hmm.
And like he keeps attacking Austin, so Ken Shamrock like backs him off and challenges him to a fight, but Bret Hart,
being Bret Hart,
backs off and walks out and gives the finger to a fan who's like holding an American flag.
Yep, that sounds about right. Did he like cut himself like just like super deep, or like how did he get like the blood to like?
I think Bret Hart did it to him.
Ugh.
Because he wasn't too sure about doing it to himself because he hadn't done it too. Well, he had done it before early in his career, but not for the last couple of years.
Gotcha. Yeah, he cut him deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's deep, but that image like made it all worth it, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, we're having a little bit of a issue in our household.
Yeah, a little COVID infection.
Mm-hmm. But okay, so before we talk about the next match,
yes,
I have a note in here. I want you to tell me more about Vader getting arrested in Kuwait, because this was like the lead up to the match that we're going to watch. Like one of the announcers, like JR, mentioned how Vader is now in a prison in Kuwait. And I was like, oh, what? And
Jerry Lawler had this nice photo of him.
That's right.
Picking up camel droppings.
Yeah,
so
okay, let's talk about that.
Basically, there was a tour of wrestlers in Kuwait because they were holding shows there.
Because for troops? Was it just storm related, or
no? It was like
for civilians,
like for the civilians of Kuwait, kind of like the Saudi Arabia shows now, where they're paid for.
Gotcha.
Like you're not hoping that you sell out; the government is paying for it and selling the tickets themselves.
Okay.
So they were going there and to promote it on this show that was basically, from what I read, it was like the Good Morning America to Kuwait. So Good Morning Kuwait. And
that's what it was called.
Probably. It probably was Good Morning Kuwait. Anyways, this guy was like asking questions that he claimed were like sent in by the audience members.
Which could have been true.
Could have been.
Still doesn't have to ask them.
But he asked something about. And it's weird because they never actually show on WWE, or like I saw like an Inside Edition thing on it. They never actually show the interview, the question himself that got Vader so pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be something about, is wrestling fake? And why are you guys, you're not even really fighting? And Vader gets all pissed off at it. While the Undertaker's just sitting there in his motorcycle gear, like not giving a shit.
No reaction at all.
And Vader gets all pissed off and like stands up. And
that was like kayfabe though, right?
Kind of, but then I guess he went over the line by like actually hitting the journalist. Like if he doesn't, like he like picks him up by his jacket and kind of like pushes him back in his chair. And because of that, Vader like was leaving the studio afterwards and got arrested.
Yep.
And
they don't have right to a fair trial in Kuwait.
I mean, he was like held until there was a trial, basically. But then I think the U.S. Embassy had to get involved and get him released.
Vader never wrote some BS memoir and talked about this?
Not really.
Huh. How long was he in jail?
It was like, I don't think it was so much jail. I think he was kind of in house arrest at the hotel they were staying. Is eventually what it became. Like, he couldn't leave the country for like a week, I think, more than.
And that was just like their punishment?
Yeah, I was kind of like, they're deciding what to do with him, but they knew it wasn't that serious. If it was that serious, they either wouldn't mention it or like, actually no, they just wouldn't have mentioned it. Like,
right.
By this time they already knew it was going to blow over, but now they had something to explain where Vader's been.
Vader's still in Kuwait, guys. Just like, all right. Yeah, that was just like, did not. That didn't come up when we were doing the Vader matches either. Because we were doing Vader.
Yeah, Vader WCW. This was Vader WWF, which that's kind of a good snapshot of his WWF career. How it was always a little less than and getting arrested in Kuwait.
Say, a little more international.
Yeah.
Crimes. Okay.
So then, though, in conjunction with that is the next match. There was a segment on Raw that was featured all around the Steve Austin versus Bret Hart angle.
Yeah.
Because the night before was the In Your House pay-per-view after WrestleMania, and Steve Austin beat Bret Hart by DQ.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he wasn't satisfied with that.
Right, he wants the belt.
He wants Well, no, not the belt. He just wants to beat Bret Hart more because he hates Bret Hart.
Yeah. Does he really hate Bret Hart?
No. He respects him a lot, but at the time, on the show. So he gets Bret Hart. He challenges him to a street fight, and after multiple times of Bret Hart denying, he eventually comes out and accepts.
Oh, that's right. They're like, oh, he's not here.
And then he's like, Steve Austin's like trying to break down the door in the back, and they come out and talk him down. And then, of course, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog attack Steve Austin right away.
Yeah. And
Shawn Michaels runs out with his chair.
Yeah.
Swinging it like crazy.
Total chaos for this one.
Yes.
Just everyone gets... Well, actually, it did kind of settle down. I think I even made a comment, too, we were watching this one. I'm like, oh, it's already a shit show.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they get the shit show out of the way.
And then they have the match, the regular match. And it was only like a 5-minute, like, the actual match part.
Right.
Where they fight, and then Steve Austin...
A lot of chair shots.
Gets the chair shot around Bret Hart, gives him the Pillmanizer, and then puts him in the sharpshooter. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, like, the refs are able to get him off. And
yeah, like a boat. This is not like a ton of refs show.
Yeah, like all the refs. And
like
they can't really do anything.
Right, I don't know why they bring up all the refs.
Because they wanted to show that everyone wanted them off.
I don't know. 1997 is like, we've talked about many times, is a crazy year, especially in wrestling. It seems like this is when Austin really blew up. Yeah,
so Owen Hart and the British Bulldog come back and help Bret to the back, and Owen Hart's yelling at him, "Stop it, you idiots!" And the British Bulldog's very helpful, though.
Yeah.
Watch the wires, guys! Watch the wires!
Yeah.
Watch the wires, guys!
You're good, kind of tweedly and tweedly.
Yeah, exactly. Owen Hart just keeps yelling at all the paramedics while the Bulldog's like trying to help them.
Help them. They had a little good cop, bad cop thing.
Yeah, so they load Bret Hart in the ambulance. It looks like he's going to go to the hospital and everything's okay. But then we go to the camera in the front of the ambulance, and Steve Austin has commandeered the ambulance.
Obviously.
He jumps in the back and starts beating on Bret Hart, like punching both his face and the knee that he's injured.
Yeah, mainly involving different types of vehicles. But yeah.
So then, like, him and the British Bulldog and Owen Hart like fight with him then. And then Gorilla Monsoon comes up and starts yelling at Steve Austin in the back to get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
And Austin says he's not done. And then later in the night, he comes out to cut another promo. And then Brian Pillman returns out of nowhere and attacks Steve Austin. So that was like just one crazy episode of Raw.
I bet.
Yes.
Everyone's... Yeah, it seems like every episode of Raw, there's just be a lot of chaos.
Especially like this time when they were starting to get into like the attitude format of like, all right, 3-minute match, but then here's the important thing that happens after or before.
Gotcha. So it's more like this, like the soap opera type.
of
advancing plot lines versus the actual wrestling.
Exactly.
Was it because they didn't have like a lot of talent? They felt like, or like
kind of, and also like what they wanted to do wasn't. It was more storyline based and storyline driven than actual match driven. And for a while, it definitely worked.
Yeah, that's true. But any kind of format's gonna kind of come and go.
Right.
And then the next, we have to watch 1997, 98, but that was when everyone, it was like really his height. The next one is another Hart.
Yes, Owen Hart this time for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam 1997.
Oh, I had WrestleMania at SummerSlam.
Yeah, SummerSlam. And the stipulation here was if Steve Austin couldn't kick his ass, referring to Owen Hart, he would kiss his ass.
Well, Owen Hart kind of fucked that one up. Screwed that one up. Sorry.
Yeah, just a bit.
This is the one, you could tell.
Yeah, it
Austin's neck is...
Even like, I remember watching it scrambled live and knowing something was wrong, even just because like there's a good 45 seconds where no one is doing anything.
Yeah, the way that the announcers react to the fact that like Owen knew he had to lose, so he had to kind of do like that little
he kind of like
just
positions himself just right for Steve Austin to barely turn over and flop on him.
Yeah, jeez.
But the thing that's forgotten beforehand, it was a really good match, I think.
Yeah.
It was real technical and like it was kind of until 2001, it was Steve Austin's like last great technical match, I think. Because eventually he got into like it was basically called like the Austin style main event brawl.
That's true.
Where like they'd wrestle into the crowd, and
that's a good point. We talked about the Austin style, and you're right. These matches, there was always like shenanigans going on. Well, the last one is maybe not a good example when it ends up in an ambulance.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, like this match was it is straight, just the two of them, no interference or anything from anyone.
You're right. That is like a very clean match. So it's kind of definitely unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's how it had to end. So that kind of stopped our 1997 matches.
Yep, because Steve Austin. Well, he's out till November with Survivor Series. He comes back and beats Owen Hart in like a 4-minute match, and then in December we actually watch the match. It's him versus The Rock, where he drives the pickup truck to the ring.
Oh yeah.
But even that's like a 5-minute match also. So he really wasn't wrestling long matches at this point until kind of going into WrestleMania 14.
Okay.
Which we watched, and it's him versus Shawn Michaels with Iron Mike Tyson as the special guest enforcer.
Again, not referee. Enforcer.
No, because
I wrote referee, but you're right, he wasn't the referee.
Right, because referee actually is too important, and you can't really have Mike Tyson do that. So he's the enforcer just in case something happens with the referee.
They wanted him involved with the publicity, but you can't really
trust him to be the ref.
Yeah, he just got in trouble again for beating somebody up on a plane or
something.
Well,
that guy was asking for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep badgering Mike Tyson on a plane.
That's pretty dumb.
What do you think is going to happen?
Pretty dumb. Yeah, this is when Shawn Michaels has these weird braids. I like those weird hairstyles.
Yeah, he had some interesting choices that he made.
Yep, I mean, this is Triple H interferes.
Yep.
There's no ref. Shawn Michaels shows his butt again.
Yep, of course. He's always a fan of that.
I thought that was just a once in a while thing. It seems like he
likes WrestleMania.
This is a WrestleMania move?
Yeah, it shows ass.
I guess.
It's a big event, big time.
There you go. You got a lot of eyes on it. So you're proud of it. Shawn gets in a nice flying elbow, but there's no ref.
Yep.
Oh no, what are we going to do? Mike Tyson then takes... So my note was right. He ended up being the referee.
Yep, because they do the sweet chin music into the stunner reverser. And then also this was Shawn Michaels' last match for 4 years.
Oh.
Because his back was really screwed. And there's one point where he's standing in the corner and you could tell he's wincing. And because this was his first match in 2 months already.
Really?
He was ready to leave.
Gotcha.
But he ended up manning through it and doing this match as much as possible. Who knows how many pills he was on, but got through it. And then next, first actually let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Before we continue with, now we are on to Stone Cold Steve Austin WWF Champion.
Okay.
And we'll look over that mode next.
You can't walk his walk.
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
But you can wear his shirt. The Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt. 316 appears on the front and a skull is on the back with Stone Cold etched in the forehead. Some people will go to desperate lengths to possess one of these shirts. All you have to do is call 815-734-1161 or send a check or money order to the address on your screen. And that's the bottom line. So call now.
All right, and welcome back. And as we said, we're now starting after WrestleMania 14, as Steve Austin is the WWF champ. And the next clip we looked at was the night after WrestleMania on Raw, where Vince McMahon awards the new WWF title to Steve Austin, the Attitude Eagle, as it is commonly known, that belt, because it's associated with the Attitude Era.
Oh, okay. My notes were out of order. I thought we did the promos at some point. When he gives it all the stunners.
Oh yeah. So that was.
You're not writing the promos.
I'm not writing the promos. No.
After he broke his neck and couldn't wrestle,
right?
He just had a theory.
They needed They needed him to somehow interact with people still on the show, so he could still give stunners. So he started stunning all the different announcers until it got to Madison Square Garden, where Vince McMahon was trying to talk sense to him about how everyone wants to see him wrestle, but he needs to have a waiver.
Oh, he's like, I love you.
Yeah.
That one, yeah. He gives him a stunner.
So Steve Austin gives him a stunner. And then, if we go to the night after WrestleMania, again, Steve Austin gives Vince McMahon a stunner. And this kind of set the stage for now, this is going to be the feud. One way or the other, it's going to be Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And the first person to take up this charge is Mick Foley of the two Do Love matches, including the one that we watched before where it's all over the arena.
Oh, yeah.
The Over the Edge with Briscoe and Patterson as the ring announcer and timekeeper as he's walking around with the bell just in case.
Right. Very important.
And then from there he feuds with Kane. And this is all under Vince McMahon's puppeteering.
Of course.
And then finally they get to SummerSlam and it's him versus The Undertaker, who, I mean, at this point these two were the two biggest stars in the WWF, and they hadn't really crossed paths in a big time one-on-one match.
Yeah, when was Undertaker in the regular rotation? Because I feel like I'm just used to seeing him once a year.
Started in 90. Oh, he was full time from 91 to I'd say 2010.
Oh, really?
That's kind of when he stopped being
full time. Wow.
Full time.
Now he's just the once a year.
Yeah,
okay.
If that. Yeah, I mean now he's in the Hall of Fame, so hopefully he can stay retired.
Yeah. Just have to come out to wrestle for WrestleMania anymore.
Yeah, or Saudi Arabian shows.
Risk getting with Vader. Well, I guess Vader's dead, so they can't reprise a little.
Yeah, they won't have to worry about Good Morning Kuwait.
Good Morning Kuwait. Yeah, so this is Undertaker's a little bit slower.
Yeah.
You said that Austin got knocked out during this match?
Yeah, early in the match they kind of butt heads, and according to promos or interviews he's given after it, he was knocked out right there, and basically just Undertaker dragged him through the rest of the match.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's able to make it look convincing.
Kane comes out but doesn't do anything. He
right.
Just stares him down. And they go in the crowds. Oh, yeah, this one, that's when Undertaker jumps off the top rope onto the announcer's table. That's impressive.
A leg drop off the top.
That's a
through the announce table.
Yeah.
That is a big guy. Onto a guy who's a year removed from having a broken neck.
Yeah, that's a little risky. But
yeah.
no, they pulled it off.
Yeah.
And no one got seriously maimed.
Right.
But then Steve Austin, they had to do Sound of Music.
Yeah, the old school rope walk.
And then Steve hits the stunner right after that.
Yeah, well, he hits a low blow as the Undertaker
right.
comes off and then hits the stunner.
Using Sound of Music for evil.
Yeah. That's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after this, Steve Austin, Vince McMahon makes him fight, Steve Austin fight both The Undertaker and Kane in a triple threat match.
Oh.
And that's what gets the title off Steve Austin. And then he chases the belt for a while. It's Vince McMahon starts the corporation with The Rock and the Big Boss Man.
Very story heavy during this time.
Exactly. So this was every week though there was something else. There's the Corvette where Vince McMahon shows up to the arena in a Corvette and Steve Austin shows up later in a cement truck and fills it up and gives it to him.
Yeah,
and
they must have had a huge budget.
Yeah.
To destroy all these cars and run all this heavy machinery.
And then
pay all this
right around this time was when Vince McMahon was in the hospital, and first earlier in the night Mankind comes and ends up making Mr. Sacco. But then after that Steve Austin poses as a doctor and beats the shit out of Vince McMahon, ending with him giving him an enema.
Oh.
So
obviously.
Like I said, it was just every week there was some moment with him, usually in Vince McMahon.
It's almost like Ren and Stimpy, or those. No, it's like Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah, so really, it is a cartoon sometimes with what he was doing to him. And then, at the same time, he was also feuding with The Undertaker. And like I said, The Undertaker tried to give him an enema. Or not an enema. Not an enema, what'd you do to dead people?
An autopsy?
No.
Have sex with them?
No. Where you get all the liquids out of them.
Oh, I don't know. Is that a term for that?
Yeah, we said it earlier. The Undertaker was having...
embalm him?
Embalmment. Yeah, he tries to embalm him alive. And then, like, him and Paul Bear get in the fight. Like, Steve Austin shoves Paul Bear down the manhole cover at one point. So it's just on and on. It just keeps going and going. And then Steve Austin beats The Rock for the title at WrestleMania 15. We watched that a while ago. And then finally, that gets us to Fully Loaded 1999. The Undertaker and Steve Austin are still feuding.
All right, long feud.
Vince McMahon and Steve Austin are still feuding. And in this match, The Undertaker is Vince's proxy.
Right.
As it's the first blood match where if Austin wins, Vince McMahon is never allowed on television again.
Obviously.
And he's going to have to live up to these stipulations. And if Steve Austin loses, though, he can never receive a WWF title match again. Oh.
Yeah, I wrote first blood matches with some stupid stakes tied to it.
Yes. It's an apt description.
They start fighting. Yeah, this is what do you call it? The Austin...
Yeah, like the Attitude Era
yeah.
brawl. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, not
a bunch of weapons.
Fighting, just like running around.
Yeah.
Shane runs out. Oh, yeah, so then Shane runs out and he gets smacked right away.
Yes, he does not last too long.
The No 1 2 3 kid shows up.
Yes, because X-Pac... And this was like a point where all the main event feuds were like intertwined with each other. And like X-Pac was teammates with Kane and Undertaker didn't like that, so... Undertaker came out and attacked X-Pac earlier in the night.
Obviously.
So X-Pac had to get some revenge.
Was X-Pac like supposed to be like a nickname for something or just like part of the D-Generation X?
Yeah, that was just his name in DX.
That's stupid.
D-Generation X.
It was a time.
Fashionable.
It was a time. Well, let's just leave it at that. Yeah, then this is the one where like it just like literally every wrestler comes out.
Yeah, at the end everyone comes out, but eventually Steve Austin or the Undertaker is bleeding before Steve Austin, although eventually both bleed.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge fight, and then at the end though it's Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, and Steve Austin just keeps stunning him and drinking beer over him.
Oh yeah, people love it. He's definitely of a time. But I think he like almost like defines like that time. Like he's very much part of that like late 90s.
Right. Era.
Yes.
And then actually in November of 99 in storylines he gets hit by a car.
Okay.
And is taken out for a year. Because he actually needed to go and have real neck surgery.
Gotcha.
Like it wasn't working anymore. Just sitting off from having a broken neck. Not the best treatment for it.
Yeah, no. So
he comes back, and first he's feuding with Rikishi, who it turns out is the guy who tried who ran him over.
Mm-hmm. Like, does his surgery, everything, like, work out?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Well, to a point.
Okay.
So then he came back, and then, like, in 2001, he had the match with The Rock at WrestleMania, where he turns heel, with Vince McMahon helping him, then he, turns into... Because, for the 4 years in between, he would never take a pile driver or a German suplex or any of these, high neck moves.
Yeah.
But then he started having, matches with Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit where he was taking, 10 German suplexes.
Oof.
Just to, I think, he kind of knew, okay, I only have, a year left. I'm going to go out as hard as I can.
Jeez. Interesting.
And one of these matches is Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle for the WWF title at SummerSlam 2001.
Yeah, that's a different music because it's heel.
Yes, so he's now heel Steve Austin, so he needs to have sinister music.
So, he just knew his time was up because, health reasons or, popularity or...
Mainly, health reasons, and he was kind of thinking, he didn't know how long he'd be able to keep going.
Gotcha. And you don't want to, just overstay your welcome.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Lots of suplexes. Oh, the superplex off the top rope is very good. This Kurt Angle that's real bloody here.
Yes. Steve Austin just keeps throwing him into the post
that's
4 times.
Ugh.
To make his point, really make his point known.
Was he feuding with Kurt Angle?
Yeah, at this point Steve Austin had joined the WCW ECW alliance.
Oh, that's right.
So he was the main...
How could I forget?
Of course. He was the main guy in that group. And then, like, Kurt Angle and The Rock were the two main WWE guys. So Kurt Angle was feuding with Steve Austin. And ta-da.
Gotcha. Is this the point where we watched, like, the weird video? When you're the wing beneath my ring?
Yeah, that was the night after. So, yeah. So Steve Austin starts attacking the refs. And then Kurt Angle has him beat, and Nick Patrick, WCW referee, runs out.
That's right, the evil dude.
And counts the 2 count, but then ends up disqualifying Steve Austin for attacking all the refs, giving Kurt Angle the win, but by count out, so he doesn't win the title. Or by DQ, and he doesn't win the title, though. Mm-hmm. So then the next night, the Alliance had the Steve Austin Appreciation Night.
Yes, of course.
Where everyone gives their talks to why Steve Austin is their hero, eventually ending with them singing that Steve Austin is the wind beneath their ring.
The best part is the bouncing
Steve Austin head is what makes it, yeah.
No,
unfortunately, this part is not on the network due to music infringements. But you do get the end which is the pretty unique Kurt Angle coming out in the milk truck, which was an homage to Steve Austin coming out 2 years earlier in the bear truck.
And then I noticed the match too. The sign said like "Got Milk." Was like there's something with Kurt Angle and milk going on.
There was a bunch of Stephanie jokes around that time because of her large breasts.
Gotcha.
Because Chris Jericho had pointed out on Raw how she obviously had a boob job over the last year. It wasn't the last of those either.
Gotcha. All right, so not that type of... Okay, so not a reference to Kurt Angle coming out in the milk truck?
No, but like they had always like joked around about how Kurt Angle like drank milk.
Straight edge,
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's on Brown being Olympian, like drinking milk, eating your Wheaties.
Exactly.
All that good stuff. Gotcha.
So then eventually they get rid of the Alliance and everyone just kind of forgets that it ever happened, and Steve Austin just goes back to being regular Steve Austin.
The heel thing didn't really stick.
No, because people didn't want to boo him.
True.
It was just not something that... And they didn't have a strong enough face. Like,
that's
Kurt Angle...
Yeah.
Well, right after this pay-per-view, they had a pay-per-view in September where they were having a rematch. And it was in Pittsburgh, Kurt Angle's hometown. But I think what they ended up doing 2 weeks after this is what they probably would have done originally, because Steve Austin ends up losing the title to Kurt Angle because it was September 23rd, 2011, or 2001. So you couldn't have the guy in the American flag really lose at this point.
Right.
So Kurt Angle got like a quickie 2-week title reign and then lost it to Steve Austin on Raw when William Regal joined the WCW team.
Gotcha.
But then eventually Steve Austin loses the belt, takes a little bit of time off, and around like WrestleMania 18, he gets pretty disenfranchised and walks off for like 2 weeks. It was mainly he didn't like where his standing was. He was kind of lowered because Hulk Hogan was back, and he left when he left WCW originally, he was always wary that he thought the reason he was kind of pushed out was Hulk Hogan didn't want to work with him. So they've always had like a bit of friction between the two of them.
Does Hulk Hogan acknowledge this too?
Kind of, but in his own weird way, where he's like, "Oh, I would have loved to work with him, but at the time he wasn't at my level in WCW, brother." And it's like, yeah, but you build a guy up to like, obviously you can't just have anyone fight you, but you could build a guy up. And I
think by like if Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin fought like 1997, then that's like a different story. It's not like 1989 anymore. Hulk Hogan,
right? Yeah, exactly. And even in like 1994, it's not like Steve Austin was curtain jerk, and he was facing Ricky Steamboat.
He was always a really good wrestler,
and he was facing Ricky Steamboat for the second biggest title.
Right. You're right.
The same show you're debuting. It's not like he was, on the dark.
Right.
card.
No, I think that Hulk Hogan's just full of himself.
Well, that's the thing also. You never really know what the hell Hulk Hogan's saying. At least Steve Austin has gone on record plenty of times. Yeah. I mean, he had a podcast with like 500 episodes. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. He liked talking.
What do you talk about?
Like, just random stuff. Like, mostly wrestling, but, like, also, like, workouts and hunting and stuff like that.
All right. Did he, like, read ads for, like, Headspace in between?
I mean, he had ads. I'm not sure what all of them. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah. Interesting. He stopped doing it?
Yeah, he kind of got sick of it. I mean, he'd done it for, like, he was, like, an early big-time podcaster. Really? Like, it was, I think, like, Adam Carolla, Joe Rogan, and him were, like, the first to get, like, so many downloads or something.
Interesting.
Like, it was on Podcast One, a pretty big network.
Interesting.
So, then, though, he comes back a little late, like, in April. Like, he's gone for 2 weeks after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And starts on Raw, and this is when they tried to make Raw and the first time, they tried to make Raw and SmackDown their own separate shows with, like, you know, they're on SmackDown, they're only going to be on SmackDown. Like, there's
different storylines.
Right, different. Yeah, okay. The brand split is what they called it, instead of just saying the split. So, eventually, Ric Flair's the co-owner of Raw, and Vince McMahon is the owner of SmackDown.
Well, whatever. Really?
So unfortunately, at this time, though, the only angle they could think of was Steve Austin faces authority figure. So they turn Ric Flair heel, and they have him fight Steve Austin.
Yeah, at that point, Ric Flair could be a heel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he could. I mean, it's not hard for him to play heel.
No.
I think he had to wait a little bit, though, because this was the first time he was in WWF for 9 years, so people just wanted to cheer him the first time. But then by second or third time around, if he's acting like a dick, you'll boo him.
Right.
Play along, kind of.
Right.
So this match against him and Steve Austin on Raw, and Ric Flair declares that it has to be an old-fashioned wrestling match. No punches. No, and you can't win by counter disqualification.
When did punches start?
Well, they were always technically illegal.
Oh, okay.
You can't use a closed fist.
Oh, someone told Steve Austin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that reminds me. It's kind of because we got some other promos. Actually, I don't think we watched them, but when did the whole, like, what? When did that start?
So, yeah, that was...
It's like a later
thing.
It
actually started the August 13th, 2001 episode of Raw.
Okay.
I'm
not going to just challenge you on
notified of that because I was there in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, it just started, like, him... Because... Like, late 2001, when he was the leader of the Alliance in WCW, his thing was, like, he was paranoid that, like, everyone was always after him, and that's why he joined WCW, because they cared about him.
Alliance?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he, like, would just cut an interview on someone, and every couple minutes, every couple seconds, he'd, like, pose a question and then just say, what? And then it just kept getting to the point where after every sentence, he'd say, what? And then eventually the crowd started picking up and saying what also. And it got to the point where, like, he would just say things in promos to allow the crowd to say what back to him.
Right.
And then it became a thing, like, he was feuding with Kurt Angle. The fans would say what after everything Kurt Angle said, so he'd, like, get pissed off and get it and not.
That's good.
Finish his interviews. So, yeah. So... They decided it's going to be an old-fashioned match, and Ric Flair also wants it written up that if Steve Austin loses, Steve Austin has to be his personal assistant for 30 days. But right before the match, Deborah's looking at the contract. Noted law clerk Deborah.
Exactly, yeah.
And she notices that the stipulation is that the loser has to be the winner's personal assistant for 30 days. So...
Good eye, Deborah.
Yeah,
so Steve Austin wins... Ric Flair has to be his assistant for 30 days.
Exactly. So they have a big 15-minute match, though, which on Raw was unusual at the time. They had that long of a time just to go out and have it. And they stressed nice and early that Steve Austin can't punch. There's quite a few times where he rears back and can't do it.
And like, none. So I even call this, like, there'll be a lot of chops.
Yeah, so there are a lot of chops, yeah. I mean, because a punch is just kind of a transitional move a lot of the time. So here, instead of punching, they chop a lot more.
Yep. You find someone to beat each other up.
Yeah.
Not using punches.
But it's a nice, like, throwback match, and Ric Flair shows that he can still go. And Steve Austin shows that he's still when he's motivated, he can still... Because he had quite a few lackluster matches leading up to this. But so he wins the match, and then...
But there was definitely shenanigans still. Like Chris Benoit
comes
out,
I mean...
Eddie Guerrero comes out.
That doesn't, play into the finish, though.
That's true.
Because he ends up winning clean.
Yeah, good point.
So then it's set up that the next week, Steve Austin will have Ric Flair as his assistant. But then when creative came out the next week for Raw, it was Steve Austin losing to Brock Lesnar unadvertised. And Austin read that and said, that's stupid. Like, I have no problem losing to Brock Lesnar, but why are we going to do it on a Raw with no advertisement? It should be a main event of a pay-per-view.
Right.
And they said, well, that's the plan. Well, he said, okay, well, that plan sucks. I'm going home. And left till January. And, left, his contract was, he's suspended.
Gotcha.
And then in January, he finally came back and has a match with The Rock at WrestleMania 19.
They never did any goofy, promos of, Ric Flair, shoveling out horse stalls?
No, I don't know if they were...
that's a missed opportunity.
I mean, I'm sure they had stuff like that ready to go, but if he's not going to be on Raw, then they're not going to do that.
I thought they would do that, right away.
Well, it was the next week this happened.
Well, Brock Lesnar messing everything up.
Yep. So then he has his match with The Rock at WrestleMania 19, where The Rock finally won, hitting the 3 rock bottoms, and then he retired. And, I mean, he'd show up quite a bit here and there, usually ending with him hitting a stunner and drinking beers over whoever he had to vanquish. And until this WrestleMania, when Kevin Owens started... In January, it was I wonder what Kevin Owens is going to do for WrestleMania, and then it all of a sudden 1 week on Raw for no reason really he started talking bad about Texas. It was I don't think the Raw was in Texas. It was very unusual. And then 2 nights later, it came out online. It's the WWF is reaching out to Steve Austin to wrestle at WrestleMania. So then eventually it became clear that's what Kevin Owens was
angling for,
planning for, and was getting. So, and he had just in early January, his contract was up. And there were rumors that he was going to go to AEW.
Oh, Kevin Owens?
Yeah. But he's re-signed with WWE.
Oh.
And I think this was his reward for doing so.
Gotcha.
Because, I mean, this was the biggest match at WrestleMania. And then also, at the same time, Sami Zayn re-upped his contract. And he got the big Jackass match at WrestleMania.
Jackass match?
He fought Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah. Oh, good for Johnny Knoxville.
And it was, it's the match that the mainstream audience will look at the most.
Gotcha.
It's got a movie star in it.
Mm-hmm.
So both of them were well rewarded for staying with the company.
Can't go to Saudi Arabia, though.
No, you cannot.
So, I'm getting tired.
So it starts as the KO show.
Yeah, that was a long lead-in.
Yeah.
Because you thought they weren't, because they teased it.
They said there was going to be a KO show with Steve Austin. And it was a debate about whether it's actually going to be a match or whether it's going to end with Steve Austin just attacking Kevin Owens.
Which is fine, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously going to end with Steve Austin drinking a beer over Kevin Owens. It was, how do we get there? How long does it take in between? So then, it was good though. Steve Austin comes out on his ATV, of course, because he's not walking down that damn ramp.
It was long. Well, he has to, now after watching that little compilation video, he has to come out in something. He can't
Of course, yeah. Well, this was from 2003 on, he had different roles, but he always had an ATV he'd ride to the ring in.
Yeah.
Usually with a cooler of beer, which isn't probably the greatest model, but whatever.
No.
So then...
I kind of was hoping they'd have, the pane of glass better down. But I guess that...
It would have been hard to...
Yeah, I was
it's
thinking about
quite a bigger, more elaborate entrance than the WrestleMania 13 entrance.
It could be a little bit more... Maybe the big entry, though, with the side of the little door. Anyways.
Could have done it. But, so Kevin Owens lets him know that he really wants him to have a match. And if he's not, he's a coward, and he'll show that everyone in Texas is cowards. So, of course, Steve Austin takes the match.
Right.
And they have an actual match. It's not
they do.
a 20-second thing. It's a full, 12-minute match.
Yeah, it's a real match.
They fight all over. They ride
together.
They ride on the ATV together.
That part I wasn't expecting. That was funny. Like we talked about, the whole pre-show was just Steve Austin.
They just had to practice Steve Austin on his ATV and all the different tracks he was going to take.
He did have to ride it around the ring.
Yeah.
So he didn't have clearance
and he'd do get on 2 wheels sometimes for that. He was cutting those corners.
He was.
Tight.
He was. That was funny. Oh, yeah, but I mean, it kind of was the beats I expected. Austin dominated early. Kevin Owens got in a couple shots. And they ride the four-wheeler, obviously.
Yes, of course they do.
And then they get back to the ring, and Steve hits the stunner.
Well, yeah, first Kevin Owens hits his stunner.
That's true.
He does get that in the ring, but then Steve Austin kicks out and eventually wins.
Right.
Because he's Steve Austin.
Yeah,
in Dallas,
Texas. Like, come on.
After 19 years retired.
Real. That was going to happen. So, long, storied career. We've watched a lot of Steve Austin, man. What's your favorite Steve Austin match?
It's
the blood one?
Probably, yeah.
What's your second favorite Steve Austin match?
Probably him versus Dude Love with all the stipulations with Vince McMahon as the ref and stuff.
Oh, okay.
This is just a reminder, this match has no disqualifications. Do you need me to pull up the...
Yes. Nuance, jump up factor. Yeah, it's just helpful. Can you just paste in the definitions in there?
I should probably. Well, not Facebook. Wait, Facebook. There we go. Nuance, so longevity, flexibility, intangibles, jump up factor, memorable peak matches, moments, and storylines, promo skills and character work, and then work rate.
All right. It's a very high nuance.
Yes.
Say 9.5.
Okay.
What about you?
I gotta go 10. I think actually no, I'll go 9.5 here.
Why is that?
Because I'm gonna go 10 for the jump up factor. Memorable matches and moments.
Yeah, he has to get a 10.
Like I was saying, the YouTube video we watched right before with all the vehicles and stuff, that was every week in 98 Raw. It was what are they going to do?
Yeah, it's itchy and scratchy.
Yeah, exactly. It was this week, Vince McMahon fired Steve Austin last night, so this week Vince McMahon's going to be taken hostage by Steve Austin and will shoot him with a bang flag gun at the end of Raw, and Vince McMahon will piss his pants. It was and then the next week, or that's coming off the week he filled the Corvette with cement. That's coming off the week he gave him an enema. That's coming off the week he attacked him with a Zamboni. It was everything.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a high bar he keeps setting up. Promo skills, character work.
Yeah.
9.5. I feel he really became a cultural touchstone.
Yeah. And even early, late 96 when he's kind of set up to have his feud with Bret Hart, he totally turns it on. Even if they're not giving him a lot, he's taking advantage of every promo, and he's doing all the stuff with Brian Pillman and going into it right away. And then work rate.
Very high. Oh, excuse me. I mean, he's a very good technical wrestler. The more I think about what you said, though, the Attitude Era doesn't really lend itself to
right
quality. I'll give him a 9.
Yeah, I'll also go 9 there because I think
the same score.
Like you said, he's kind of he's not Daniel Bryan as far as technical wrestling goes, but he didn't need to be especially the fully loaded 99. I think is the best example of the matches we saw of the main event style match.
Right. But I think he is a very good technical wrestler, though. If you think about, I don't know if I'm allowed to consider his WCW matches, but
technically, no.
Okay.
It's only WWE.
Well, then it's a 9, because you can't count his Stunning Steve years.
How did I do some?
Geez, equal sign.
Oh, equal sign some.
There, enter.
Okay.
And then, see how that feels.
Yeah. 38,
yep.
Yep. And I think for now, again, this is preliminary. I am putting him ahead
Oh, wow.
Of Randy Savage. Of course, we are going to do Randy Savage later this year, so I might. Right now, I'm writing the Steve Austin high. Yeah.
The recency bias.
So right now, I'm going to slot in Randy Savage at number 2.
You have Hogan at 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's kind of needs to be pretty high up. And then last time I did The Rock, I know I put him
way too low.
Yeah, I think I put him right here now.
Great.
All right.
Who are we going to do next month?
So next month is actually the start of, we're going to have a little project the next 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to revolve around Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels kind of has 2 halves to his career.
Interesting.
So we're going to
do part 1, part 2?
Yes.
The little Bret
Hart sandwich in the middle,
exactly. Yeah. Shawn Michaels sandwich and the Bret Hart meat in the middle.
Yep.
Love it.
I think that'll be good, and hopefully you can finally figure out the difference between...
I know the difference now.
Okay. Between Bret Hart and the Heartbreak Kid.
It's been a long time.
Yes.
I got that now.
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah, you do. We've seen enough of the 2 of them that...
Yes, they're different.
Keep them apart.
I got it now. I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem anymore.
Good. And we'll start our Heartbreak tour next month. Until then, have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.